Good evening, and thank you so much for joining me here at the First Alert Desk. My name's Karli Barnett. We want to give you a look at some of the stories that we are following for your Wednesday. We want to do a recap of what our reporters have been working on today, as well as a little bit of a preview of what you can expect tonight here on Atlanta News First. You can join us tonight at 10 on Peachtree TV. You can also join us at 11 on WANF. But of course, if you don't join us on TV, there's plenty of other ways you can watch. You can watch us on AtlantaNewsFirst.com or wherever you are streaming. So this first story that we want to get to, this has been a busy day in the courtroom, and our reporter Patrick Quinn was listening to all of it. The father of the suspected Apalachee high school shooter was in court today, and it was during those proceedings that there was new information brought to light, new evidence that was presented as far as the mental state and perhaps the alleged preparedness of his son, Colt Gray, before this shooting. Our reporter Patrick Quinn, he breaks it all down for us.
In Barrow County, prosecutors called 3 investigators to the stand who outlined a notebook they say alleged shooter Colt Gray left behind in a classroom at Apalachee High School. The notebook allegedly included his step-by-step plan, where he wrote down a goal of killing more than 25 people. Here's Special Agent Lucas Beyer of the GBI reading a portion of that notebook.
So I'll set my bag down, open it, put on a vest, take a moment or two to stay calm and really think about if I want to do this.
Secondly, we learned more about Colt's mental health history. Investigators said Colin was aware Colt had battled suicidal ideations and the cutting of his wrists. Colt was scheduled to see a professional therapist off-site the weekend before the shooting, but that appointment was skipped. Thirdly, prosecutors alleged Colin knew of Colt's fascination with past school shootings, including an alleged shrine that Colt had created in his bedroom, glorifying specifically the gunman in the Parkland school shooting.
There's approximately 15 pictures. They were mounted with thumbtacks to the wall directly behind his computer desk.
Fourth, while there were damning allegations about Colt's mom and her relationship with both Colin and Colt, we learned Colt's mom and grandmother multiple times tried to alert healthcare and school leaders about Colt. Marcy Gray, Colt's mom, told investigators she tried to get Colin to secure the guns at his house.
She did. She had indicated to both of them that she wanted the weapons locked away so they were not accessible.
The state alleged Colin bought not just the gun Colt used in the shooting, but also a sight, a vest, and ammunition for Colt. And moments before shots were fired, Colt texted his dad apologizing.
At 9:42 a.m., Colt texted Colin again. He stated, "I'm sorry. It's not your fault. Know I love you and Jenny and Coley. You're not to blame for any of it."
Now, of course, we do want to take a moment to remember the victims in this tragedy. 4 people were killed, 2 teachers and 2 students. Their names were Mason Schermerhorn, Christian Angelo, Christina Irami, and Richard Aspinwall. Tonight, our Madeline Montgomery, she is speaking to a legal expert about the father's alleged involvement in all of this. The father has faced charges in connection to his son's alleged crime. So she's going to speak to a legal expert about what the implications here could be, what this could mean going forward. We know that this is the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the details that have been released, and more will come out as the trial process continues. So she is going to be bringing us that, as well as more details from the courtroom today. As Patrick Quinn mentioned, there was an alleged notebook or diary in which the suspected shooter allegedly laid out this plan. So again, if you join us tonight on 10 and 11, she is going to have more details on that. You can also find all of our coverage on this on AtlantaNewsFirst.com. We have reported on this extensively, and if you want to read a little bit more about this case, you can go and do that right now on our website or our Atlanta News First app. Now, this is another story that we have been following. We brought this to you as breaking news right here on Atlanta News First. And that is the biolab chemical plume that has just been plaguing Rockdale County for weeks now, and even more frustration and confusion today. That's because the biolab facility, they were setting up a community resource center today. They said they did this as a way to answer people's questions, provide some resources, but on day one, it was already overwhelmed with people. People were having to line up outside before they even opened. And so our Atlanta News First reporter, Brittany Ford, went to Conyers today to get answers.
I'm Brittany Ford in Conyers, where there is frustration and confusion for people looking to get help at BioLab's new Community Assistance Center. Lines wrapped around the block at the center located on Main Street in Conyers. People say they had to wait hours due to high demand. Now, if you're looking to get help, the agency says walk-in appointments are limited. Appointments can be made at biolabcommunityresource.com or by calling the BioLab hotline. Community officials say the resource will be available as long as it's needed.
So remember that number, remember that email address. If you want to make an appointment, go ahead and do that, because it seems like they are getting overwhelmed quickly. A lot of people are wanting some help, wanting some answers here. And our reporter, Blake Devine, he is out in Conyers tonight. They are actually having their first city council meeting back at City Hall since this chemical plume happened. And so he is going to be speaking to city leaders and getting more answers there. We know there was another meeting also in Rockdale County. So he is combining these elements to bring to you this full story tonight. And we also know the other story on a lot of people's minds, of course, is the election. And we are in the final countdown here, day 2 today of early voting, setting another record. More than 500,000 ballots cast on just the second, or between yesterday and today, for early voting. These are breaking some serious records, and our reporter Abby Kasouris tells us that both Republicans and Democrats are encouraged by those early voting numbers.
Historically, a large early voting turnout favors Democrats, but a change in messaging from Republicans adds a factor that's messing with predictions. In his tweets, Gabriel Sterling with the Secretary of State's office called early voting numbers overwhelming, huge, big, saying he's running out of words to describe voter turnout.
That despite all the attacks on our voting system from the left and the right, people say we suppress votes, people say there's voter fraud, Stacey Abrams, Donald Trump, Georgians know our system actually works really well, and they're happy to go do it.
New transparency tools through the Secretary of State's website allows you to see where, when, and how people are voting, but it doesn't explain why and who people are voting for. Both Democrats and Republicans claiming a victory.
But when we have high turnout, that's always a good sign. And so I think that the state of Georgia is going to deliver for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz.
Democrat State Representative Jasmine Clark feels strongly that Georgia's early voting numbers are a defiant act against attacks from Republicans, while Republicans say their base is listening to their changed messaging.
We've been talking since June of last year about how important it was for Republicans to change some behavior and not just wait until Election Day, but to get out early.
Political scientists use demographics as an indicator on how many people may vote. First day early voting numbers show a higher percentage of women voters this year compared to last year. Females skew Democrat, while there are more voters 50 plus who skew Republican. Professor Zachary Peskowitz says it's too early to tell.
There are some encouraging signs for both campaigns, and we'll see what happens over the next few days.
Early voting ends here in Georgia on November 1st, but it's a little different than Election Day. You can go to any of the early voting spots in your county. There are more than 300 locations across the state. In Atlanta, I'm Abby Kasouris.
Now, we do have some new polling numbers. A new Quinnipiac poll just released shows Trump with a slight lead over Harris here in Georgia. Of course, both candidates have eyes on the Peach State. Former President Trump was just in Metro Atlanta yesterday, and Vice President Kamala Harris will be in Georgia on Saturday. And keep in mind that Atlanta News First, we are your source for everything you need to know when it comes to elections, including where you might have the closest voting precinct near you. For early voting, you don't necessarily have to vote at your assigned precinct. So if you want to know more about, hey, what's the one that's most convenient to me right now, most convenient to my work, you can do that right now on atlantanewsfirst.com if you just go to our elections tab. Now, let's bring you to the other high interest story that we are dealing with, and that is the fact that it's cold outside.
Chill.
We are looking live over Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, and those temperatures, I'm joined by First Alert meteorologist Cutter Martin. They are dropping even lower tonight, Cutter.
Yeah, my heater kicked on for the first time this year yesterday, and I'm not even, the highest set temperature. I think I have it set in the upper, 60s, like 68 in the house, and we got cooler than that last night into this morning, and certainly you will be cooler than that as we get into tomorrow morning. A really ideal setup for some chilly temperatures across North Georgia, Metro Atlanta. In fact, not just chilly, we'll call it outright cold across the area. And again, if you have any weather questions, comments, concerns, feel free to give me a holler. We were streaming with Karli Barnett on YouTube. Atlanta News First is the account to follow that we are streaming on, and perhaps that is one of the best ways to chat. Though you can also text us 470-777-WANF. That's 9263. And again, I'm First Alert meteorologist Cutter Martin here with a check of the First Alert forecast. Kind of gearing up my graphics here, trying to get everything set and ready to go so that we can kind of get right to it once we have everyone joined in. And it does look like quite a few people are still watching, still tuning in. And we'll go ahead and get to it again, starting with the overall forecast tonight into tomorrow morning. We do have a freeze warning, believe it or not, first of the season for the portion of the North Georgia mountains, Fannin County over to the east, including Rabun County, Clayton, and really just even in those counties, the highest of elevations, we're talking, a few thousand feet up, likely to see their first freeze of the season. Lower than that, frost is still likely, but if you're at the base, if you're in the valleys there, base of the mountains, foothills, not looking like you're going to be 32 or colder, though some could still squeeze that out by chance. I think majority of that 32 degree or colder setup, technically a freeze, going to be at the highest of elevations. Rest of us, though, in light blue, that's a frost advisory, meaning that while we will not hit freezing in Atlanta, temperature is cold enough, maybe just enough moisture tonight into tomorrow morning to get some frost going. So it doesn't have to, be freezing to technically cause some issues with the most sensitive plants that you may have outside. Maybe those potted plants like some of the hibiscus, maybe some of your summer annuals. May want to bring those in, cover those up now. If you have something like mums, if you have something like maybe you've already put some pansies out in the flower beds, those will be fine. They're almost made for chilly weather. Roses will be fine, but some of your tropicals like ginger and stuff like that, that is probably going to start dying off after tonight into tomorrow morning if you don't protect it. So if you would like to keep those going, best to move them in the garage, cover them with the sheet. You guys know the drill. This is the first time we're having to do it this season so far. 54, your forecast low temperature, not forecast low temperature, that's your current number. It's already 54 in Atlanta, 48 Carrollton, 44 in LJ, 46 in Helen, so already 40s and 50s. It's already chilly outside. Took a walk outside just a few moments ago. Jacket worthy, no doubt about it. Breeze is lighter, so not too much of a wind chill, not all that brisk out there, but the temperature itself is dropping pretty quickly. In fact, I think the city of Atlanta in the upper 40s before the evening is out, and certainly we're going to wake up to much colder conditions out the door tomorrow morning. Now, here are your forecast low temperatures tonight into tomorrow. Again, a first alert weather day tonight into tomorrow morning, just giving you that extra heads up, emphasis on the fact that tomorrow will be even colder than today. It'll be the coldest since early April, and it will be cold enough to create some frost out there, maybe on the windshields, and we could see some freezing temperatures again up in the mountains. So if you parked in the driveway, parked in the street, anywhere outside tonight, may want to give yourself just an extra couple minutes tomorrow morning, get that defrost going, and maybe have to do just a little bit of scraping. Some areas, probably not. Even with temperatures in the mid-upper 30s, there is pretty dry, so we're not going to really get much dew to even form. And you kind of need that to form in order for it to freeze, to form frost, but certainly is possible. Some of the roofs out there, some of the grassy areas, and maybe even your car windshield could have a little bit of frost out the door in the morning, mainly outside of I-285. Forecast low for Atlanta is 40. Very borderline to get frost with temperatures like that, but any colder, and we probably would see some frost. So some of our typical inside the perimeter, cold spots, parts of DeKalb County, far south Fulton, far west Douglas, those areas, southwest or southeast Cobb, could be colder than 40. But Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport forecast low is 40. The first alert really just for the early commuters. May want to do a little bit of scraping, plan that extra couple of minutes in, make sure you're defrosted, you're cleared, and your visibility is good before you back out of the driveway and hit the roadway. Notice by 9 a.m., though, jumping back into the mid-40s, it's a nice morning, just cold. Again, could be a little bit of frost. And as we go into the prime time for frost to form, that's going to be the wee hours of tomorrow morning. I can go ahead and kind of back this up. Actually, we're going to keep it stopped at 7 a.m. Notice how it's really mountain communities, far northeast metro, Dawson County, Dawsonville, Lumpkin County, Dahlonega, Gilmer County, Fannin County, Habersham County, maybe Barrow County, Hull County, some of these areas, Clark and Oconee counties, Newton Walton counties, and then over to the far west side, Cleveland County, Alabama. The I-20 corridor on north, but especially outside of I-285, going to be favored for a little bit of frost to form. Greatest chance, though, is up in the mountains. However, we will be also warming up pretty quickly tomorrow. That first alert just through the morning commute. And then as soon as we hit 9 a.m., temperatures will start warming up. That frost will melt. And looking at a nice day tomorrow, much like today, fairly chilly. Wind maybe a little lighter, though, than today, so maybe not feeling quite as brisk. Lots of sunshine, again, just like today. So tomorrow, more or less a carbon copy. High today was 62, going to just a little bit warmer tomorrow. Still feeling cool outside, though, and definitely still cooler than average. Cooler than it should be on an October 17th afternoon. Average high tomorrow in Atlanta, 74. We're going 65. 67, your high in Eatonton. 65 in Thomaston. Much the same in LaGrange. Ellijay and Helen are mountain communities, a little cooler, I'd say upper 50s and lower 60s in the first alert forecast. With temperatures dropping, that sun angle getting lower, more and more night or darkness time out there. Leaves really starting to drop. Want to let you know if you have company coming into town this weekend trying to get the yard all nice and done, it will be just fine. No issues. Weather-wise, fine to clean up. Wind's not a huge issue. Maybe still a little bit breezy tomorrow. But again, we're getting to the time of year where those leaves, even with the light breeze, just fall and fall and fall. So other than that, weather-wise, looking quite nice to get outside, do some yard work, especially getting into the weekend. In fact, temperatures are going to be warming up. Very nice, though, still 40s and lower 50s in the mornings. Saturday, Sunday afternoons, low to mid-70s with really no humidity, very low humidity, not much moisture in the air. Lots of sunshine, maybe just a couple more clouds Saturday, and a dry first alert forecast. And that will carry us into the coming work week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Again, that warming trend continues, upper 70s to near 80. In fact, I think the entirety of next work week will see a warming trend. Even next Thursday, next Friday, looking fairly warm before possibly our next cold front or next drop in temperature. Forecast also looking mostly dry until maybe late next week. You can get that 10-day forecast at AtlantaNewsFirst.com and in the First Alert Weather app. I want to remind you, I'm going to join the evening news crew tonight at 10 p.m. on Peachtree TV, starting at 10 p.m. On Peachtree TV, Atlanta CW affiliate. Latest news headlines, full First Alert forecast. Then also tonight at 11 p.m. Atlanta News First on WANF. Latest news. Final check of your First Alert forecast. Hopefully you're able to get outside this evening, enjoy it. It is a nice one, though it is a chilly one. Hopefully you have the jackets. Again, you can get that full forecast anywhere on the go, and the First Alert weather app. In fact, we'll be updating the weather app here pretty shortly in the next 15, 20 minutes or so in case you missed the beginning of this stream. You can catch it in the First Alert weather app and at AtlantaNewsFirst.com. Have a great evening. Stay warm. Cover the most sensitive